accountant and cost accountant institutes so that they can create corporate mitras who can help these MSMEs in filing their returns, doing their accounts, and so on. Above all, for youth and training, there's so much. You've heard the speech, so I won't want to take your time on it. High-powered education to employment enterprise, standing committees being formed so that they can recommend measures for service sector as a core driver of Vikasit Bharat. Part B concentrated a lot on tax and related concessions that are being offered. More importantly is the process simplification which has been announced. So elaborate measures have been taken. You will be able to also seek clarification if you want. New export opportunities for fishermen who can go into the economic India's zones, high seas, and also assess and access the global markets. The one very touching, and I really was moved by this proposal, is where we have identified 17 drugs or medicines which are going to be basic custom duty exempt, which are important for cancer patients. Similarly, 7 more rare diseases are added to the exemption list of the import duties. Baggage clearance and personal items which you bring in when you travel are all being given enhanced duty-free allowance. Besides that, there are quite a few direct tax and indirect tax proposals. Decriminalizing the penalty proceedings and support to the IT sector are some of the high points. As an opening remark, I'll conclude here. I'm sure you'll be able to ask questions and seek clarification. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll start this question, taking the questions. First question is 17.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Shishir here from Hindu Business Line. Ma'am, my question is that under the miscellaneous capital receipt, the provision is 80,000 crore rupees. And last year, the provision was 47,000 crore, which has been reduced to 37,000 crore rupees now. Does this mean that there will be more equity monetization this year, or there will be more focus on the asset monetization of CPSEs?
So you've got it rightly. The intent is that we will have a very strong asset monetization plan in place. Last year, ma'am had announced in the budget that there will be a pipeline prepared, which is being done. So we hope to reap the dividends from that.
238.
Ma'am, Timsi Jaipuria, this side from CNBC TV 18. I just wanted to know the rationale behind the hike in STT in futures and options.
So, first of all, I believe some confusion. In fact, the question that you have asked rightly reflects the announcement itself, that the only change made in STT is in the future and options. All the other STT rates remain the same. The primary objective of raising the tax rates on STT has been that it is felt that when you look at the volume of transactions in futures and options, whether you compare it to the size of GDP or size of the underlying securities market, it is largely in the realm of heavy speculation, which results in losses to small, retail, unsophisticated investors. And the government's intention is to discourage speculative tendencies, and the increase in rate is essentially in that direction. So it is meant to essentially handle the systemic risk in derivative markets. Even after this increase, however, the rates of STT will remain modest compared to the volume of the transactions that is happening there. This is the reason.
54.
Ma'am, Tarun Sharma from Z Business. मैम आपने पूरा बजट जो है वो न्यू इमर्जिंग सेक्टर पे बड़ा फोकस रखा है। मैम मेरा सवाल आपसे दो हैं यदि आप अलाउ करें। एक मैम आपने जो एक्साइज ड्यूटी का कैलकुलेशन किया है वो पिछले बजट एस्टिमेट से इस बजट एस्टिमेट में तकरीबन 22% की ग्रोथ देखने को मिली है। दूसरा मैम जो आपने एमएसएमई के लिए कहा कि जो ट्रांजैक्शंस होंगे उसके लिए आप एक्सचेंज प्लेटफॉर्म का यूज़ करना होगा, तो क्या मैम ये सीपीएसईज के लिए कंपलसरी होगा जो डिस्काउंट ट्रेडिंग की जो बात है? थैंक यू।
I'll take the second question, ma'am. So, हाँ, ये CPSEs के लिए मैंडेटरी होगा कि डिस्काउंटिंग एज वेल एज नॉन डिस्काउंटेड बिल्स दोनों को ही ट्रेड्स पे करना होगा ताकि वो 45 दिन में भुगतान MSME को कर पाएँ, और ये हर तरह से चेक कर लिया गया है कि ये हो सकता है. So we want to make CPSEs as pioneers. We hope, like ma'am has said in her speech also, that other corporates will also follow.
On excise.
Increased by 22%, sir, from last year B to this year.
Because there is from 1st of February, all the tobacco products have come back into excise, and all those revenues will account for the increase of the next year.
209.
Ma'am, Prakash Predashi from ET now. The budget has announced restructuring of PFC and REC. What will this restructuring look like? And does this also mean that these NBFC will be merged going forward?
What is the later part of your question? That these NBFCs are not going to?
Will be merged going forward?
Yeah, I've said we are rationalizing it. You'll get to know as we go forward. We want to streamline it, and therefore we'll be taking some steps. We'll let you know the moment we decide how to go about it.
234.
Hello, ma'am. Harsh Kumar from Business Standard. Ma'am, two questions. One is, you said that a high-level committee will be formed on the banking reforms in order to 2047. Are we going further for any kind of merger or something, since government is continuously saying that we need at least two of the big banks, in at least of the top 20 banks. So are we going towards that?
No, first of all, when I say that it's going to be a high-level committee which is going to look into it, the terms of reference will be prepared, and we are looking at committee to go into the entire expanse of the banking sector so that they come up with recommendations which help us to plan for banking for 2047. We need, by the time we become a Vikasit Bharat, 2047 is our goal. We need to understand what are the other steps that we need to take in the banking area, and based on the recommendations, we'll go forward. But we have the Secretary, Department of Financial Services. We'll ask him to also give us, please.
Ma'am, I think you have rightly responded. There are large number of aspects relating to the banking requirement. For example, the credit to the GDP, commercial credit to the GDP ratio low, and the expansion of the banking network, and what kind of procedure currently we have that is impeding the both the deposits as well as credit. All those aspects will be looked at by an expert panel, a committee, and well, we will definitely have TOR, and then also consult the all the stakeholders, and the government will take a view on how to lay strong foundation for 2047 Viksit Bharat.
Ma'am, one more question.
229. Left side, yes.
Ma'am, Premanshu from Anandabazar Patrika. Ma'am, have you consciously avoided announcing any bonanza for the poll-bound states? And secondly, can you elaborate on this East Coast corridor, industrial corridor you announced?
See, the industrial corridors are very critical for supply chains. We need a predictable mineral, rare earth and magnet related products to be made available for India's manufacturing, whether it's lithium ion, whether it's automobile sector, whether it's the new age solar. You need these rare earths to be processed and be made available. We have enough raw materials. The coastal areas are rich in these minerals. And therefore, states also felt, I mean, I must credit that the interaction that I had with the finance ministers pre-budget, many states felt that there are rare earths which they can utilize. We then sat up in the budget group that we have, Revenue Secretary, Secretary DA, and thrashed out, talking with the states. What are the kind of things that we can do so that their capacities to extract these minerals, process them, make them something which the industry can benefit from. So India can be less dependent on imports of these materials. That is where, having spoken to states, we thought it's very important to recognize the corridor and give a policy for it so that industries can invest, private sector can come in, governments, state and center can come together on it. That is where these corridors were announced. And looking at the success of the defense corridor, I can confidently say these rare earth corridors will make that big a difference to the Indian economy. The first question, I think there's enough to cover all the election states. If I do, you will ask me, why have you done it only for the election states? Now I've done it for election and non-election states as well. You want me to spell out what has been done only for the election states? I'm quite happy to do it.
262, front. And the front, please. Here, front side. Front row.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Sapna Das here from CNBC TV 18. Two quick questions. Just wanted to understand the gross borrowing at over 17 lakh odd crore. Would the government look at it as being on the higher side? Just asking that. And within that also, if you look at your net tax revenue stream, of course, B to RE, it's higher. And a lot of concessions have been given away both on direct and indirect taxes. But the trend seems to be a bit flat, around 28 lakh odd crore. So if you could explain to us, how is this entire thing looking? And second, ma'am, in terms of the disinvestment aim, 80 odd thousand crores, would this also include IDBI stake sale sometime in FY27, ma'am? Thank you very much.
So you've covered a number of secretaries all at one go. So on the borrowings, no, we don't think it's on the higher side because the net market borrowings are in the range of 11.73, which is been plus around that number for the last couple of years. The larger number is because we have 5.5 lakh crores which have to be repaid this year. So to that extent, we don't think that it's a large number. We have a plan how to manage this. And according to that plan, which also gets released from time to time, the markets would also know, as well as all of you want.
4. Okay.
So, on the tax stream, because of some concessions that were given this year, there has been some course correction. But if you look at the next year, the direct tax is growing at 11.4%. and continues to be 3.1% of the GDP. The total collection would be 6.9%. The indirect tax excise is growing very healthily because of the base correction, the base which has got added. Customs too is showing a decent buoyancy. So on the tax revenue, I think we are looking up. And even GST, as you would have seen the collection figures today, after rate rationalization, the buoyancy which we had expected, and in this hall we had discussed about it, you can see that coming back on that tax.
Hi, ma'am. Meghna Mittal from Money Control. The fiscal deficit target that you have set for next year from 4.4 to 4.3 is being seen as very, very gradual. Is there a specific reason, or is it because of the global uncertainties as one of the major factors for being such a gradual fiscal consolidation path?
I would have thought you'll appreciate it being gradual. Because particularly fiscal, drastic changes don't go down well. One or the other section gets hurt. We will have to be gradual, but yet keep it well within that band which gives confidence. and to show that we care for fiscal prudent management. There's no point in me dropping it to, let's say, 4. It has to be steady so that the economy goes in a steady speed. So it is a responsible number and realistic number. It's not as if I wanted it to be so gradual. It is a responsible number. We should achieve it and equally not bring in any kind of turbulence anywhere.
Thank you. From the center flank, 190.
Thank you, and congratulations on a very comprehensive budget.
Before you start, I was going to look at PIB and say, this side is being ignored.
Yes.
But good that he called you.
Thank you. I'm Aprajita Saxena from CNBC International in Singapore. I'm very curious because you started talking about tech, and I want to ask a question about the ISM 2.0. There are those on the outside who say that India sort of lags when it comes to AI innovation, especially innate innovative LLMs. Is the strategy of ISM 2.0 to sort of become part of the global value chain, or are you more positioning towards India creating its own native LLMs? Thank you.
I think Ashwini Vaishnav, the minister, has been speaking extensively about this. There are several aspects of it. We want to be sure that in the semiconductor domain, we have every expertise for all those 5 major chip or modeling or, the infrastructure, design, every aspect of it. So he is talking about creating capacities within the country to be able to have that kind of a infrastructure well laid out within the country. And similarly, if you're looking at the way in which our startups are working, using AI, and very clearly we have also shown a path that it is not just the large language models, but also smaller ones, medium-sized ones, which can serve the requirement of your economy. So AI in India, particularly when you have a huge demographic dividend, will have to give us results to ensure that our people have work and also the opportunities are going to be enticing enough for the youth. It cannot replace human efforts. So we are at the same time redefining for ourselves, if I may use that expression, on how to use AI, what is the capacity that we have to create, the kind of infrastructure that we have to lay in the ground for it. Equally, the products which come out of it will have to benefit our people because our youth are revving to do more and new. For them to do something new and for them to do something more, we have to create benefits out of AI rather than push along with AI unthinkingly that it doesn't serve our people. So I think these many different factors play in making a decision on semiconductor. And that is where ISM 2.0 looks into these aspects as well. And I'll ask the CEA to speak a bit on it because he spent a lot of time so that he could write effectively capturing what's happening down. Ananta, you want to say anything on it?
Actually, we have to see the semiconductor mission and the announcements related to the rare earth corridor, which ma'am talked about a few minutes ago. All of them as part of the framework that we presented a couple of days ago here on the strategic resilience part. So, in fact, many elements of this ma'am's budget speech focus both on equipping us to handle the AI-related technology as well as skilling the population in areas where they can be immune to some of the AI-related impacts as well. So it covers both dimensions, and therefore the semiconductor mission, the rare earth corridor, and also some of the Part B announcements ma'am made about the various electronics and manufacturing sectors were all part of the initiatives to make sure that we make ourselves strategically resilient in a very fraught global environment.
138 at the back side. Yeah.
I'm Rishabh with NDTV Profit. Just wanted to ask on the buyback tax, the rationale behind it, because was it essential to do it now? Because in 2025, there were a lot of companies that came out with significant share buybacks. Also because, and also do you foresee some sort of a reduction in buybacks? And secondly, on pollution-related schemes, the outlay has been very stagnant, but pollution as a problem remains. Is this not a policy priority for the government now?
On the buyback, I'll have Revenue Secretary brief us.
So first of all, on the buyback, I'd like to clarify. I hope that the point was clear enough in the speech also, that it is in fact a relief. It's not a tax, additional tax. It is a relief. Buyback tax system was changed to make it as a dividend income, which is income at the applicable income tax rate at the hand of the shareholder. It has been corrected now, and we have put the tax to be in the hands of shareholder as a capital gains tax, which long term, for example, will be only 12.5%. So there is a correction and a relief which has been given to the shareholders. All that has been done is, the whole objective of doing that change at that time was misuse of a tax arbitrage by promoters. So the change made for promoter is that additional buyback tax on them, which again keeps things status quo for them. So even today, the marginal rate at which they would have been paying the tax as a dividend, which is at their respective income tax rates, we have kept it at 30 and 22. If it is a corporate, 22. If it is an individual, 30. So as far as promoters is concerned, it is status quo. As far as the other shareholders is concerned, it is actually a very big relief. So that is probably what may make the point a little clearer, the announcement itself clearer.
76 at the front side.
So pollution is a priority with government, and not everything has to appear at the budget speech is how I would put it, ma'am. So we are working with many state governments on projects related to air pollution, even water pollution. There is a significant budgetary outlay on sewage control as well as drainage. And as it was noted, you would have seen the Finance Commission recommendations also. A large portion of the Finance Commission grants to the local bodies, urban and rural, is tied to water and sanitation, particularly I would say sanitation. So pollution of all kinds remains a top priority, and there are different ways in which we are trying to tackle it.
Hello, ma'am. Ma'am, I am Monica from Business Standard. Ma'am, I have two questions. Ma'am, I am here. Ma'am, I have two questions with regard to customs. Ma'am, in your budget speech, you said that honest taxpayers will be able to close their case and they can pay the additional amount in view of penalty. So I want to know whether this is a customs amnesty scheme, and if you can just provide the contours of this scheme. And also, ma'am, Economic Survey flagged the need for convergence between transfer pricing, which comes under income tax law, and customs valuation. But there was no mention in your budget speech. So is there any such proposal being considered by the government?
Both on the direct tax and the indirect tax, this is not an amnesty scheme. This is essentially an offer given to the honest taxpayer who would otherwise, when he gets to know that he has to pay the duty, he will like to pay it. But because our laws require him to also pay a penalty on that, the negative connotation associated with being penalized, which he has to obviously disclose at some point of time, does create a situation for him or an incentive for him to rather dispute the duty, even though he may not want to do it. So the window that we are giving to the taxpayer is that you will, if you are willing to pay your tax or whatever is the duty, instead of penalty, the same amount you can pay in the form of an additional amount. So it will not be either a relief or an amnesty. At the same time, this amount that you pay will not be treated as a amount which you have paid as a penalty, and therefore that negative connotation will go away. You may have seen that there is another announcement of a similar nature on the income tax side, where when it comes to the cases of underreporting today, there is a provision under which you have to pay tax, interest on tax, and a 50% penalty. If you are willing to accept the demand and not go on appeal, you need not pay the penalty of 50%. You can go ahead and pay your tax and interest, and the matter is closed. What we have done is expanded this window and included even misreporting cases. where penalty is otherwise 200%. But there again, we are telling him that you can settle it by paying the tax, the interest on tax, and this 200% get reduced by half. You pay 100% as an additional income tax. The idea here is that if you are an honest taxpayer, accept the fact that you have to pay the duty. We will not like to brand you by using the word like penalty. That is these two windows are essentially meant to take care of those situations, which is why reference to an honest taxpayer. Yeah, we are examining that separately.
194. Left side, yes, back.
Ma'am, this is Amitod Singh from CNBC International. Congratulations to you and your entire team. I have two questions. The first is around foreign investors. There were a number of expectations that, you know, taxation structures would be changed, particularly when you think about things like withholding tax. So what we want to understand is whether that was even discussed within the government. And my second question is 15% defense spend increase. How much of that has to do with global uncertainty?
Revenue Secretary can answer on the first question. See, global uncertainty is something which definitely occupies all the officials' mind when we are preparing for the budget. But I won't attribute it to be the cause for any one step. Across the board, we kept that in mind. So it's not the cause for any one thing that we've done or one thing which we did not do. That's kept in our mind. Our macroeconomic fundamentals are strong. You heard the CEA speak that despite you having a macro sound economic foundation, you're still sort of facing a world which is uncertain. And therefore, when currency, Indian rupee versus the dollar becomes an issue, you have done everything within the country to make sure your fundamentals are fine. But uncertainty globally is affecting on many grounds, and we are seized of it for everything that we do, not for one particular thing, but ours.
Yeah, I think today we need to look at what has been announced in the budget. So we would rather focus on that, because there would obviously be many of the issues which would be discussed and deliberated. But what has come out for you before in the budget is what is there, and we should probably focus on that. And if you saw that there are many announcements, especially which are addressing the needs for attracting investment in India, bringing more certainty, both for the residents who interact with their related parties, as well as for the non-residents who otherwise do business here. There's a whole host of those announcements. You'd appreciate that what, for example, has been done in IT services is a change which is completely, and it's a fully comprehensive change, which practically will take care of just about 30 companies need to now sign APAs. The rest, all 11,000 odd, will be covered under one or the other system of certainty of taxation, either through safe harbor rules or through the APA agreements. So this has been a major change. In specific sectors where we felt that the residents needed certainty, we have provided that, whether it is in the data center, whether it is in manufacturing, electronics, even for the expats, if they are going to stay here, the experts for a longer time. On the data center, I just thought I'll take this opportunity to clarify, because there was some speculation about what has been done. The thought process in this is that a global entity which is providing kind of cloud-based data services uses data centers all over the world to provide services to the customers. So it is very difficult to connect one-on-one as to which data center has resulted in what type of revenue. So the international entity of this nature would like to set up data services centers in India, which is a net economic plus for us, because it adds to that scale and level of economic activities. It has strategic purpose too. So the arrangement we have done is, just because that entity will set up data service centers and will use this as one of the many to provide services globally, should not become a cause of uncertainty for it that its global income will get taxed here. So that is the certainty which we are giving to it. Quite naturally, the data service center, which is located in India, will be taxed depending on the way it is positioned. And that entity will be selling its services to customers in India through a reseller entity, which again gets taxed. What we are excluding from taxation is this global entity, which is essentially doing cloud-based services, using data services centers across. And we do not want it to be deterred from enhancing its business footprint in India to provide such global services?
I'll just come in to add to that point on foreign investors, to point out one or two points on the Part A side also, which are important. One is that this was this ask from AIFs for a very long time, that most AIFs in our country are formed as trusts. Their request had been for a pretty long time to consider if the LLP Act can be modified and amended to align it with the functional requirements of AIFs. So that has been announced today, which is a very big move forward, as it will allow them to, the amendments are going to be of such a nature that by becoming LLPs, first of all, the liability will get limited. And then there are going to be amendments which will also allow for document filing rationalized for entry and exit of partners, and similar such things to make it easy for the AIF partners. So that's one of the announcements today. The other was the announcement on the PROIs and the relaxations given therein of how much they can invest in a company individually and together. So those